All right. Well, with that, we are going to jump on to the main event, which is we're going to hear from marketer and strategist Tim Fitzpatrick, how to create a compelling message to convert prospects into customers. The key word there is compelling. It's easier than ever to get your message out to prospects or in front of an audience, but can you compel them to take action? So Tim's going to talk to us about how to make this happen. Tim, are you ready?
Ready as I'll ever be, Neil.
All right.
Let me share my screen here.
Do it.
Let's see. You guys can see this okay? Okay, cool. Are we good? You can see it? Okay, awesome. Well, I'll jump into it. Thanks, Neil. As he said, my name is Tim Fitzpatrick. My company is Rialto Marketing, and we are going to talk about messaging today, which to me is one of the absolute fundamentals of marketing. The first fundamental of marketing is your target market and your ideal clients within that market. You cannot create messaging to attract and engage those people until you understand who those people are. But once you do, you can create messaging. And I'm going to walk you through a framework today. I did not come up with this. What I'm going to share with you today is directly from StoryBrand, if you're familiar with it. I'm going to dig into it. Please, if you feel like you've missed something, don't worry. At the end, I'm going to give you some tools. I've got a recording of this entire workshop where I go deeper than I will today. So tons of resources for you. I just want to make sure you guys get your questions answered and you're comfortable as we go through this. So my first question is this you? Okay. Do you run into times where you're not sure what to say? People ask you, what do you do? And you fumble through it. You feel like you're reinventing the wheel each time you need to create a message. You're creating a social media post, or you're writing an email, you're creating an ad, but you feel like you're reinventing the wheel each and every time. Do you feel like you're confusing people? People ask you what you do and you say, and then you just get like these blank stares. Okay. If you're in this boat, you are not alone. There are tons of people in this boat. But here's the thing. Poor messaging is negatively impacting every marketing action and activity that you take. If you have poor messaging, you're not getting the return on your marketing activities that you should, which is why it is such a key fundamental to have in place. Think of messaging like the fuel and the tactics that you're using like the vehicle. If you do not have good messaging, you have a vehicle and you have no fuel, which is not good. But here's the thing, with the right messaging, you can be confident in what you say. You'll know exactly what to say so that you're clear and engaging, and you're going to save time and you're going to save money, right? Because if you're putting a message out there with your marketing activities, it's not going to work. You're going to waste time and you're going to waste money. But when you have a good message, you've got the fuel that you need. Okay, great messaging. Here we go. I've already touched on it. It's the fuel that you need to get your activities to take off and generate more leads for your business. So how do we do this? It's all about storytelling. We create clarity in our messaging with storytelling. First, we need to understand why. Why storytelling? And storytelling in marketing is nothing new. Okay, this has happened for a long, long time. But what I will say is I think StoryBrand did a very good job of making this easy for people to understand. But the two big mistakes most people make when selling their product and services, one, they don't focus on what's going to help their clients survive and thrive. It's the only reason why we make buying decisions. Okay, we have problems. We have problems that we don't want, and there's results that we're looking for that we don't have. Our messaging needs to focus on those two things. Too many people talk about themselves. And the reality is our customers, our clients, whatever you want to call them, they don't care about us. What they care about is how we can help them solve the problem that they have and help them get to where they want to go. That's it. So when in our messaging, we really need to focus on them and not us. And you'll see this as I go through this framework with you today. The second big mistake is people make it difficult for people to understand. We confuse people. And what happens? Like when you're confused, do you do anything? No. Confused people do not buy. Confused people leave, right? So if somebody lands on the top of your website and they can't understand really quickly what you do, how they're going to benefit, what that next step is, what action you want them to take, less than 8 seconds, 5 to 8 seconds, they don't get it, they're moving on. They're going back to search results and they're going to find somebody else. Okay, so we need to capture their attention very, very quickly. That is why we use storytelling. Storytelling will help you avoid both of these key mistakes. So let's break it down. Okay, the essential elements of every story. And I may be dating myself a little bit, but this is from the original Point Break, which is one of my favorite movies, so don't fault me too much. But in the original Point Break, you have a hero, right? Keanu Reeves, he's a green FBI agent. There is a problem in every story. If there's no problem, there is no story. Like there is the problem is the hook that brings people in. In this particular story, there's a band of bank robbers called the Ex-Presidents robbing banks in Southern California. Every story has a guide, right? The guide is trusted. The guide has been where the hero is and knows exactly what the hero needs to do. In this case, it's Gary Busey, who is Keanu Reeves' seasoned FBI agent partner. Okay, the guide gives the hero a plan. This is the plan that you need to get where you want to go. In this case, it's, hey, you need to learn how to surf because I believe the ex-presidents are surfers. And if you learn how to surf, I think you're going to meet them. You'll be able to infiltrate them and, we can catch them, right? So there's got to be a call to action. If we don't take action, nothing's going to happen. In this story, the call to action is learning how to surf so that we avoid failure, which is the ex-presidents get away and ride off in the sunset, and we reach success, which is we catch them. But every story, especially action movies, follow this like to an absolute T. If you think about some of your favorite movies, I guarantee you can start to pop these elements in. But you've got a hero, they have a problem, they meet a guide who gives them a plan, calls them to action so they avoid failure and they reach success. So StoryBrain calls this a brand script. I call it a brand playbook, but these are the essential elements of the framework. And when you use this, what we are doing is we're inviting your customers into a story where they are the hero and you are the guide. We all love stories, right? Stories are engaging. They invite us in. They keep us captivated. That's why we want to use storytelling in our marketing. So in the first, right, we've got character, the hero. The customer is the hero, right? You are not the hero. Our customers are looking for a guide. They are not looking for a hero. If you think about most stories, the hero's actually pretty weak. They're struggling, right? They have this problem. They have no idea how to fix it. Like their hands are up in the air. How do I fix it? Right? Luke Skywalker wants to become a Jedi and he has no clue how to do it. Who does he meet? Depending on which one it is, it could be Yoda or Obi-Wan Kenobi or whoever it is. There's too many different ones now. When I was a kid, there was only like 2 or 3. But Yoda knows exactly what Luke needs to do. You are the same. You want to position yourself as the guide, not the hero. What we want to do in this first step is we need to identify what our clients want. What do they want as it relates to what we do? So for example, a financial advisor, they want to plan for retirement. A real estate agent, the home they've always dreamed of. An executive coach, become the leader everybody loves. We need to identify what our ideal clients want at this phase in the framework. Then we get into the problem. Like I said before, the problem is the hook that brings them in. And identifying our customers' problems deepens their interest in us. The more we can talk about the problems, the more they're going to become engaged. There are multiple aspects of these problem elements. Okay, first, every story has a villain. We need to find a way to bring a villain into the story. Okay, the villain is what's that chief source of conflict that what you do defeats, right? If you think about one of the ones that always comes to mind for me is the Mucinex. If Mucinex is cold medication, right? It defeats mucus. They've got a commercial where, there's like this cartoon looking thing, a blob of mucus that looks like Jabba the Hutt. That's how they're personifying the villain in the story. Then you have three types of problems. You have the external, internal, and philosophical problems. The external problem is the problem that's outwardly manifested that we see. The internal is how that's making them feel. How is the problem and the villain making your customers feel? And the philosophical problem is what's larger than the story itself. What's the right versus wrong in this story? So here's a few examples. Commercial cleaning company, right? The villain, cleaning companies that don't do the job, right? They come in the middle of the night, they empty the trash and they leave. The external problem, it's pretty simple. I need a clean office, but the internal problem is I'm frustrated. I give my cleaning company the keys to the castle, and I think all they're doing is emptying the trash, but I have no idea. The philosophical problem, right? What's right versus wrong? You should be able to trust your cleaners. I should be able to let them in when I'm not there and know that they're doing the right job. Okay. Financial planner, villain, noise, too much noise in the market. The problem is I need an investment plan. I'm confused about where to invest, but everyone deserves a sound financial plan they can depend on. Okay. So just a few examples to kind of hammer that point home. Third element is meeting a guide. Customers aren't looking for a hero, they're looking for a guide. You want to position yourself as the guide. You know where they are, you can empathize with them, and you have the plan that's going to get them where they want to go. You position yourself as a guide by talking about two things. You have empathy and you establish authority. Okay, empathy and authority. Empathy is just as simple as saying, hey, I understand what it's like to be in your shoes. I understand how frustrating it is to let your cleaners in and feel like all they do is empty the trash. Authority, things like testimonials, certifications, awards you've won, clients that you've worked with, all of those things help establish your authority. A guide with a plan is trusted. We need to give our clients an idea of what it's going to be like to work with us. Okay, we don't need to dig into all the nitty-gritty details, but there are two types of plans. There's a process plan and an agreement plan. Process is about alleviating any confusion. What's it like to work with you? The agreement plan is about alleviating fear. What fears do people have in working with you? Here's an example from a wedding planner. Listen, collaborate, wow. Like, I don't even need to go into detail on each of these things. Anybody that's been married knows exactly what they're talking about right there. And people that are thinking about getting married know exactly what we're talking about here too. You're going to listen to me. We're going to collaborate, and damn, we're going to have an awesome event. Okay, cool. Are they doing a ton of other things as part of this process? Yes. But in the beginning, I can't talk about the 50 things that I do. I'm going to lose people. Just give them the high level bits that are easy to understand. The agreement plan, alleviating fear. Here's an example from CarMax, which is a used car dealer. What are our fears? Oh my gosh, I'm going to go in and I'm going to deal with these people, and I'm going to haggle over the price. He's going to have to go back to the manager 5 times. Oh my God, I don't want to do this. Never haggle over price. Okay, the price is the price. The other thing we worry about is, I'm going to buy a car and it's going to drop the transmission three blocks down the road. So they say all their vehicles pass their vehicle check, right? You're not going to get a lemon. Those are statements that they make in their process to help alleviate fears that their clients may have in working with them. Then we have to call people to action. Like, only the most motivated among us, which there are very few of, take action without being told what they need to do. So we need to tell our customers exactly what we want them to do. There are 2 types of calls to action that you will use in your marketing. One is direct and the other is transitional. Direct is for people that are ready to take the next step. Buy now, schedule a consultation, schedule an appointment, shop now. Those are all examples of direct calls to action. But if somebody comes to your website and they're not ready to take that direct call to action, and you don't have something that you can offer them to capture their contact info, they're gone. You're relying on them to come back, and the likelihood that that's going to happen is slim to none. That's where your transitional call to action comes in for those people that aren't quite ready. Maybe I'm thinking about buying a new home, but I'm not there yet. I'm starting to check out different realtors, seeing what's going on in the market. So I'm not going to schedule a call with you at this point. But maybe you've got, the top 10 things that are happening in the Denver real estate market right now. That's pretty helpful for me. I'll give you my name and my email for that. I give it to you. Now you can nurture that relationship with me so that when I am ready, hopefully I think of you because you've kept in touch with me. You've stayed top of mind. That's what we're doing with our transitional call to action. 6 is we're helping people avoid failure, right? We're all trying to avoid this tragic ending. We need to paint the picture in our marketing message of what life is going to look like if you don't solve this problem. So we need to let people know that. This is like salt in a recipe. We need to put it in there, but we don't want to put too much, okay? But we do want to have an idea of what they have at risk, and we need to let them know what they have at risk as we create our marketing message. Then you ends in success. We can't assume that they know what success looks like. We need to paint that picture so that they understand and they start to buy into that. The success elements, the benefits, the results, this is like flour in the recipe. You can just pour it on. But we gotta tell people. We can't assume that they know it. And then there's one more thing that happens in story, right? Characters transform, right? They go from feeling a certain way or being a certain type of person to becoming a different person. They're better, right? They feel different. We can talk about that transformation that they're going to experience when they work with you in your marketing, and that helps them get even more entrenched in your story. So for example, a financial advisor, right? I may go from confused and ill-equipped to competent and smart. Or a real estate agent, I'm unsure and now I'm a happy homeowner, right? If I can buy into that transformation, man, I'm all in what you do. So how do you create your playbook? I'm giving you 3 simple steps here. And by the way, in the tools that I give you here today, there is the playbook template that we use. Okay, so you're going to have this template. But if you do one thing from this 20 minutes or so that I'm talking, do step 1. Interview your ideal clients. I want you to think about those clients that you love working with, that are profitable, that you get great results for. Those are your ideal clients. I want you to identify at least a handful of those people, and I want you to interview them. Because here's the thing, we cannot think objectively about our business, but our clients can often articulate our value so clearly. When you hear it back, you're like, oh my God, why didn't I think of that? No, you didn't think of that because you're too close to the fire. Talk to your clients. One of the tools that I will give you today is is an ideal client interview sheet. Questions are there, just ask them. It's a 10-15 minute conversation. Your business will transform if you just do this first step. I guarantee it. But once you've got that information, now you can start to brainstorm your various playbook elements because they've given you the information that you need in their words. Your marketing message should be in their words, not yours, because their words are going to resonate with them. The thoughts that are going on in their head are going to resonate with them. That's why step 1 is so, so important. And then once you've done brainstorming, then you need to make some choices and finalize your playbook, and then you can start to use it. Couple tools that I find super helpful when we're doing this for clients. Grammarly is a grammar checking software. They've got all kinds of different tools, tips in there. The other one is the Hemingway app. I was a math major. Ironically, now I do a lot of writing, but the Hemingway app Hemingway wrote very short, succinct sentences, very clear. The Hemingway app analyzes your writing and makes suggestions about how you can tweak it to make it clear and concise. So both of these are really, really helpful tools when you're going through this, if you choose to do it yourself. Once you have a playbook, where do you use it? Like, it's one thing to create the playbook, but if you create it and then you don't use it, then you just wasted a bunch of time. Your playbook is not just your marketing message playbook. It should infiltrate your entire company. It is marketing, it is sales, it is customer service. A lot of businesses drop the ball because their marketing message is one thing, and then they transition people over to sales, and they're getting a different story. And then the potential client's like, whoa, wait a minute. That's not what they told me over. That's not what I got over here. Now you're telling me something different. That's a gap in the process. Your messaging needs to infiltrate your entire company. Your website is the first place, single most important, because everything you do from a marketing perspective drives people to your website. But from there, look, I've got this list here. This is not an exhaustive list. The bottom line is, everywhere you market your business, everywhere you come in contact with a client, customer, you can use your playbook. And you want to make sure, don't get overwhelmed, right? I just got through doing this with the client. We went through all this stuff and he was like, oh my God, I feel like we have this huge list now. Well, there is a list, but break it down into the chunks. What's most important? Create the list and just start banging them out one after another. Okay. Nobody expects you to get this stuff done all at the same time. Break it down into small little chunks and get done with the next measurable step, and then just bang out the next one. But the more you implement this across your company, the more benefits you're going to get from the message that you just created. So, Neil, I don't know how much time I've got, but I have just a couple quick things. And then, guys, I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. If you have questions, somebody else, I guarantee you, has the same question.
To answer,
yeah.
I was going to say we've got 15 or so, Tim.
Okay.
So we got some time.
Cool.
All right.
Cool. So I'm going to take this link and I'm going to put this in chat for you guys, but this, if you go to this link, I'll show you exactly what this looks like. My slide deck is there, and this is the complete slide deck. This is normally I do this in about a 45-minute to an hour presentation, so I go a lot deeper. If you want that, the slide deck, the customer insights survey worksheet, the workshop recording from the full workshop, and the template that we use is there. If you click on this link, you're going to go right to this page. Put your name in, your email address. You are going to go on our email list. I'm just going to tell you that right now. If all you want are the tools, unsubscribe. You're not going to hurt my feelings. But if you stay, you will get all kinds of good marketing, business growth, revenue acceleration tips from us on a consistent basis. Okay. But just want you to know what you're getting into if you do that. And then my contact info is here if you guys need it. From there, Neil, I'm sure people have questions. Messaging is something that a lot of us struggle with. But this, I'm telling you, this framework, it works. Once you start digging into it, you just go back to your playbook each and every time. You're not going to use all the elements from your playbook for every message. But think of it like Lincoln Logs or Legos. You've got these different pieces, and depending on what type of message you're going to create, you pull the pieces that you need and you put it together and you go. But it keeps things consistent because you're working from the same playbook every single time. And when we talk about marketing messaging, consistency and clarity are key. You know, in marketing, we talk about the marketing rule of 7. It takes at least 7 impressions for people, for your message, your brand to resonate. If people are getting a different message each time, it's never going to sink in for them, which is why this is so, so important.
Right on, right on. We do have some questions coming in, so I'm going to shut down the share here and give you a chance to have a drink of water. A lot of talking. Good job, Tim. That was an incredibly informative presentation, and that's a great offer to everybody to be able to grab it for the low price of an email address that you can unsubscribe from if you don't like it. So Kim Laughlin put out a question in chat here. She's asking how long characters or whatever metric you want should your story be on your website, do you think, Tim? Do you have a best practice?
Well, there's different as you go through it, you're not necessarily using every element from the playbook in one section. Okay, and we're starting to get into it now. This is transitioning to, hey, I've got a playbook. How do I use that and implement it on my website? Now you're starting to get into what are the key elements that we need to have on a web page for it to be effective. But one of the things I will tell you is that the beginning part of your here, you know what, Neil, can I share my screen again?
Go ahead, go for it.
This might help. Okay, so this is my website. Marketing shouldn't be difficult. All you need is the right plan. That is, marketing shouldn't be difficult is the philosophical problem from our playbook. Okay. This combined is our core message. Okay. Then the message down below here is part of our one-liner. Like, what do you do? Well, we help businesses create, implement, and manage a marketing plan to communicate the right message to the right people. Okay, so that they can build results that last. Direct call to action, get a free consultation, right? So these are multiple elements from my playbook. The whole story is not there. And frankly, you can't tell the whole story in the beginning. What you want to do is grab enough interest where they're like, okay, I'm interested. Let me see what else is on this page. This blue out box here, I'm focusing on success elements. What does success look like? Simplify marketing, grow with less stress. Battling information overload. Information overload is the villain in our story. Are you battling information overload? These bullet points are failure elements, right? You've wasted time and money on marketing. You're struggling to implement and execute consistently. Oh, there's the direct call to action again. Right? How many websites have you been to where they go and you're like, where's the contact info? You got to scroll all the way down to the footer. Like, nobody's going to do that. We want to make it clear. Get a free consultation. Get a free consultation. I don't want them to have to scroll very far. This content block focuses on success elements. Here's the process plan. What's it like? Do we do a bunch of other stuff? Yes, we do. Talk with us, get the right plan, build results that last. So we're taking some of the elements from the playbook and popping them into various content blocks. Here's trust building, right? Establishing yourself as the guide. Another, establishing ourselves as the guide. This section here is this is a Cliff Note version of our playbook. So this is what we call brand narrative. That is more information if people want to read it. But your website, you want to make sure it's in bite-sized chunks because most people aren't reading it word for word. They're scrolling and they need to be able to read it and see it very quickly and easily. So I hope that answers the question. If it doesn't, pop it back in.
Okay, excellent. Does anybody else have any questions? All right. Yep. Karen says she really likes the distinction of two different types of call to actions, the direct and transitional, which that's something I put in my notes. That's something that I think outside of marketing, even in sales, one of the things that we typically recommend to our group members is to have that like lesser, that kind of off ramp, right? You know, if somebody's definitely not ready to buy, to have that, you know, and in full disclosure, I use events like this in that way. If somebody's not interested in buying right away, I'll invite them to these events. And that's a great point, and that's a good thing to include in all your sales and marketing, I think. Okay, and yep, pain points. Good one, Kim. Include the pain points. Pain points are huge for convincing somebody that you have the right solution. So, does anybody else have any questions?
I do.
At all? Go for
Tim,
it, Donnie.
you know, one of the favorite things that I was taught was to write down all the major moments in your life and then what you learn from those major moments in life. And that becomes a lot of the stories you tell and share out there.
Yeah.
How else are you coming up with some of these unique stories that you can run through the story brand prompt? I mean, I get the whole structure of it, but where do you find the other stories in addition to that?
It's so, and to me, it's not so much finding the story as discovering it. Because sometimes we think we know the exact problems that our ideal clients have. But in reality, again, we're too close to the fire. So when we get out and we talk to them, all of a sudden we're like, oh my gosh, yeah, that's it, right? So I'll give you a perfect example. And by the way, if you're just starting out and you don't have existing customers, Google is your friend. Go to online reviews for your competitors. What do people talk about in online reviews? The problem, how it was solved, what the benefit was. So I worked with a residential siding and roofing company a while back, and the construction industry is notorious. Like if you go to 5 different websites and remove their logos, they all say the same darn thing. You know, #1 roofer in Denver. Really, according to who? And does that really tell me anything? No, it does not. I was reading through their reviews, and there was a woman in there who was like, nothing to do with siding or roofing or anything. She said, the thing that I appreciated about them was that they treated my home like it was their own. That's it. That is in their words. Man, I don't want some contractor coming into my house, traipsing dirt all over the place, dropping their tools everywhere. Like, it is an expectation that you do good work. That does not differentiate you. What does differentiate you is, man, you do great work, which I expect, but gosh, you treat my house like it was your own house. That is a core message that will resonate with clients. And this stuff is gold. It is there. You just need to find it. So that's a quick example of how you can do that. I hope that helps, Donnie.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. I love it. One of the things that I've also found is being on a lot of podcasts has been a great way to find stories because you get asked so many questions in such a rapid fire.
Yes.
Like I got asked a question the other day. Someone said, you know, why do I talk more about introductions than referrals? And I'd never been asked that question before, so I didn't have an answer. So I had to pull it straight out of my ass. And all I said is, you know, a referral leads to a one-time deal. An introduction could lead to thousands of deals. Yeah. And, you know, I'd never put it in that perspective, but oftentimes when you got to think on your feet like that, it's a great way to come up with the things that you had running around your damn head.
When you're, you know, the other thing too is your businesses all our businesses are evolving. So, you know, your message is going to morph over time. You know, I think one of the things that is a roadblock for people with messaging is they're like, oh my gosh, once I do this, it's set in stone. No, it's not set in stone. It's going to change over time, but your message shouldn't be changing weekly. You know, that's the issue. Your message should change when you have a valid reason for it to change. You know, you were on a discovery call with the potential prospect and they said something where you were like, oh my God, why is that not in my problem elements? Or, you know, why is that not in my failure elements? And you add it because it's the words directly from an ideal prospect. Or you shift ideal clients, right? Your business is evolving, you're adding a new service, then your message is going to need to change. That's okay, but it should not be changing on a weekly basis.
Adrian's got some nice things to say in the chat. I'll leave those so that we can get one more question in, but she appreciates the hero villain guide. And Tom, I think, has a great point here. So Tom's in insurance and he says, most people don't know they have a pain point in insurance until something bad happens and they realize after the fact that they have a serious pain point. So do you have any advice on how to attack that, right? Like,
Yeah. So, and this happens all the time. So I'll give you an example from, this is directly from, I think it's Allstate. Allstate does a really good job of bringing in the villain into the story, which is mayhem, right? So there you've got the guy, he's got a suit on, it's disheveled, his hair's all over the place, his face is dirty. Allstate Insurance defeats mayhem, right? You're defeating, they don't have a problem right now because they don't need the insurance. But when you can bring in, it's the unexpected in life that nobody wants insurance, but we have to have it because it protects us from all the things that can happen that we can't even, that we don't even have visibility to at this point. So bringing in a villain is one way that you can really easily start to hone in on the problem. And Allstate does a really good job of that because, yeah, am I thinking about, do I wake up in the morning and go, gosh, I just want to find a good insurance policy? No, like nobody does that. But do I want to make sure that I don't freaking lose my house if something goes wrong? Hell yes, I do. So find a good villain and bring that will bring people into the story. And then you can start to talk about the problem that you're defeating. If that makes sense.
I think insurance is sexy, just so you know.
Yeah.
Well, there's one in every room, I guess.
Yeah.
All right. And with that, I think we're going to go into our closing remarks here. For anyone, Tim has said he can stick around a little after 1 p.m. Eastern here. So if you have some more questions, don't sign off. But to all of you who joined us via live stream and to everybody in the meeting, thank you again for coming out. Don't miss Stephen Pope, which is our next Zoom meetup. Can you get consulting and coaching clients on TikTok? That presentation happens on July 7th at 8 p.m. Eastern. That event is published at events.vidwheel.com, and you can find the link in the description of this live stream. So with that, have a good day.